Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's take a look across Nigeria's seat of power and see what major stories made front-page news this week on our Abuja Wrap.
The Federal Executive Council has approved contracts for the rehabilitation of WARRI and KADUNA refineries at a cost of $1.4 billion. The breakdown shows that $897 million is earmarked for the WARRI refinery and $586 million for Kaduna Refinery. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipere Silva, told this to State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Wednesday. According to Mr. Silva, the rehabilitation of the refineries will be carried out in 3 phases. FEC also approved $2.76 billion acquisition of 20% minority stake by the NNPC in Dangote Petroleum and Petrochemical Refinery. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to the 12 aides of Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday IGBOHO. Delivering the ruling on the application filed by the 12 applicants before the court, the presiding judge, Justice Obiora Egwatu, said no charge has been brought against Sunday IGBOHO'S aides since the arrest. As such, the court held that detaining them without charging them contravenes the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and their fundamental rights. 8 of the applicants, the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th applicants were granted bail in the sum of 5 million naira each, with surety in like sum resident in Abuja. The remaining 4 applicants, the 2nd, 5th, 6th and 12th applicants, were granted bail in the sum of 10 million naira each and 2 sureties in like sum also resident in Abuja. Among the conditions for admitting the 4 applicants to bail is that one of the 2 sureties must be a federal government employee not below grade level 12. The 2 sureties must also present evidence of 3 years tax payment, and document of their property must be verified by the DSS and the courts. The 12 applicants are, however, to remain in the custody of the DSS until they can perfect all conditions for their bail. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has urged the management of the Nigerian Exchange Limited to explore more avenues of growing the stock market by venturing into emerging frontiers. He said this on Monday at the State House in Abuja when he met with the company's management led by its Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Temi Popola. The Vice President also commended the completion of the demutualization of the stock exchange, describing it as a welcome development, as Mr. Popola made a presentation of the post-demutualization of the company's activities. Professor Osinbajo assured the management that government will create policies which will enable the company and the stock market reach greater heights. The federal government has taken delivery of 4,080,000 doses of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine from the government of the United States. Addressing journalists at a press briefing to confirm the receipt of the vaccines in Abuja, the Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency notes that the vaccines will be deployed for use as soon as the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, gives the approval. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has presented 26 ventilators and 3,560 fingertip oxygen pulse oximeters for the management of patients in isolation and treatment facilities, as well as home-based patient monitoring. According to the World Health Organization, this donation will complement the notable initiatives that the government of Nigeria is implementing to address the identified gap in readiness for the 3rd wave that is being driven by the Delta variant, especially if it results in more cases requiring treatment than what was registered at the peak of a 2nd wave. The federal government has asked striking resident doctors to resume work, as most of the issues they have raised are state affairs. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi Ehanire, told journalists in Abuja on Thursday that 7 of the 12 matters were raised by the National Association of Resident Doctors and were the responsibility of state governments. Consequently, he expects that resident doctors will resume on Friday and take up these issues with their state governments rather than embark on the nationwide strike as they had done. This is more so, according to him, because the federal government has started addressing the 5 issues it is responsible for. Resident doctors in Nigeria public hospitals started a nationwide strike on Monday for several reasons, including delays in the payment of their salaries and allowances.
Nigeria has received so many donations of the COVID-19 vaccine, most notable the 3.92 million Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines received in March from COVAX, and most recently 4,080,000 doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine from the Biden-Harris administration of the United States. Somehow, just 1.4 million Nigerians have been fully vaccinated out of our 200 million population. Just 1.4 million. The resistance to the vaccine ranges from religious to cultural, and there are so many other conspiracy theories stopping people from taking the jab. Please watch this. Nigeria received 3.92 million out of the expected 14 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine through COVAX on March 2, 2021. About 1.4 million Nigerians have been fully vaccinated, mostly health workers, older people, and people with compromised immune systems. The plan is to inoculate 70% of Nigeria's 200 million people by 2022. On the 2nd of August 2021, Nigeria received 4,080,000 doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine donated by the Biden-Harris administration of the United States of America.
We want to particularly acknowledge and appreciate the U.S. government for making these vaccines available through the COVAX, particularly at a time when we're witnessing the third wave. I want to appreciate the efforts of UNICEF, particularly the personal interventions of the UNICEF country representative, Peter Hawkins. I want to recognize the efforts of WHO through the COVAX facility that UNICEF and WHO are involved with. We've been able to get another consignment of vaccines to help towards our quest to provide herd immunity against COVID-19, so that we will begin to take those strong and definitive steps towards returning our lives and livelihoods back to normal.
The vaccines, which were delivered through the COVAX facility, a vaccine alliance aimed at ensuring equitable distribution of vaccines globally. The vaccines are stored at the country's National Strategic Cold Store near the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Ahead of the arrival of the vaccines, the Nigerian government purchased 60 additional ultra-cold chain equipment and distributed them across the states in the country. Nigeria is expecting 700,000 vaccine doses in the coming week and another 3.9 million doses by mid-August. Vaccination efforts in Nigeria face several setbacks. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, nearly 70% of African countries will not reach the 10% vaccination target for all countries by the end of September at the current pace. One of the major reasons for this is vaccine hesitancy, even in the nation's capital.
This is Corona 15. I know that yes, it's true, but I didn't believe in the vaccinations because I'm scared.
Why aren't you vaccinated?
With time, because where I'm living, the locality, no one is vaccinated. So it's still the same thing.
What locality is that?
The suburb.
The one that's being collected by people before, they say some people, they will just have a boy here. They will just, something. So
not now? You need
they bring another one now. I'm not, because this Nigeria, we are rugged.
If I had the vaccine with me right now,
I will run. I will run.
If I had it now, it's free.
I'll give you now. No, I will run. They are giving them wrong information because a customer, a client of mine yesterday, she will be, I think she traveled today. I was telling her to take the jab, to take the vaccine, but she was just a kind of dribbling me, telling me, they told her this will happen to her if she takes the vaccine, this will happen. And I told her, I've taken mine. I took the first one, I took the second one, and nothing happened to me. So I think they are spreading a kind of wrong information.
Like my neighbor, he grew up because they didn't inject him well. He grew up like that with his leg broken. So a lot of people are afraid of that case that it can happen. And some people are even saying that they want to use us as guinea pigs and also all that. But me, personally, I feel like it's a disease and you have to take precautions.
The FCT administration is trying to get the local communities to key into the vaccination drive using traditional rulers. Saburi village is almost an hour away from the city center, located in the Abuja Municipal Area Council in the Gwagwa district. Saburi is home to slightly over 20,000 people, mostly of the Gbagi extraction. The palace of the Dakachi Saburi serves as the main vaccination center in this village.
Ai kaji cewa waga arowa ba shi da gaskiya ai an da ake biya kunsa mutuwa ana ji tsoron shi saboda an sa lura ai gwamnati ba yi abu yana da laifi dole ne abu kafin ai muka rula ma magana an gogi ne don Allah ko ma yi mun gogi ban samu damuwa ba na samu lafiya na a yanzu ma yi ma rula na samu wata daya ma ajiwa ban samu masalan ba. There
are some challenges with some people that they say they don't like this thing. Government is trying to they will not, after some years, they will die with all this. Then I told them that if there is anything like that, government will not make us bring it to us. And they will not tell people to take it. I give some example. If you go and buy paracetamol, do you know how the paracetamol was made? They say no. You buy it with faith and you take it and you are okay. They say yes. Okay. You don't know how this vaccine was made. The people that are there, the government are there. Make sure that the vaccine are very good, are effective and good to prevent COVID-19. And you are saying no. So, I don't know. We are trying to convince some people, but they are able to agree. Some say no.
Even here, some villagers are hesitant to take the vaccine. Others believe it's an awareness issue.
As at last year, we know what happened based on COVID-19. And really, we've been hearing it on TV. And even in my office where I work, I've been vaccinated where I work. And really, I will advise people to take this vaccine because it's really good based on what is happening in the country.
Residents of the FCT are largely hesitant to take the vaccine despite the Delta variant and the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The FCT administration must do more to get the full cooperation of the people as they pursue the goal of herd immunity. My guest on the program is Dr. Faisal Shuaib, the Executive Secretary of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. He walks us through the plans to increase the number of vaccinated Nigerians, and we want to know if there's a timeline being followed in these efforts, how much work is being done by subnationals in this regard, and is talking enough to get people to be less hesitant to the COVID-19 vaccine. Dr. Shuaib, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've come a long way handling Ebola, then polio, and now COVID. How has this journey been since 2017?
The advantage of having COVID-19 and really dealing with it is that early on we have a vaccine that is safe, a vaccine that is efficient, effective in trying to overcome the disease. So that potentially makes it probably easier to manage than the previous sorts of infectious disease conditions that we faced.
So let's talk about vaccinations. Vaccine hesitancy is a real thing, especially in rural areas. Even here in the FCT, what plans do you have to handle these conspiracy theories that many of these Nigerians are believing, and because of that refusing to get this vaccine that you've done so much to get for them?
The vaccine hesitancy around COVID-19 is a global phenomenon. It's not localized to Nigeria. And really, the solution to it is exactly similar. We have to provide people with the correct information about the vaccines and vaccination in general. We understand that if people don't have the right information, that they will not be able to take the right decisions. So whether it's a traditional ruler, a religious leader, that may not necessarily be their forte, right? Unless, of course, they have public health training, then you understand that they have all of the information to make the right decisions. For example, you're not going to call a carpenter to come and fix your broken down car, right? So it is our responsibility in the public health space to make sure that we provide the correct information to all of these leaders so that they can make an informed decision and also communicate the same to those people who look up to them. So the buck stops on our table, that we have to work extra hard, not only at the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, but across the different ministries, the agencies such as the National Orientation Agency, that is responsible for social mobilization. We just need to provide Nigerians with adequate information and make sure that we also debunk all of this false information around COVID-19 vaccination.
You're dealing with a country where people see themselves as people versus government. So every information that's coming from government is questionable to the people. And that's because of years of distrust. How are you going to deal with that?
I think really it depends on who you speak with. There are people out there that believe in the work that government is doing. There are people, of course, that are also skeptical about government. This is what happens all over the world. It is part of the very nature of humans to be cynical sometimes, right? But what we're doing at the agency, along with our partners and other agencies and ministries, is to try and put the facts in front of Nigerians, and also using people in the private sector, independent voices who do not have the so-called tainting of government, right? They speak about the vaccines, they talk about what their experiences are, and they lay the facts out there. These people are on record, they are on videos that we're sharing all across the country to tell Nigerians that this is not about government, this is not about a particular political party, this is about the health of Nigerians, and we care about the health of Nigerians. This is why we're in this business, right? So the same way we work together with Nigerians to eradicate Ebola, right? To eradicate white polio viruses, is the same way that we're working with Nigerians and will continue to push, right? This is why we're here, right? When we went to the Ebola battlefront, right, it was at great risk to our health. In the white polio virus struggles all across the country, especially in the last frontiers of the white polio virus battles, right, it took a lot of courage for our teams to get to places that were insecure, to get the vaccines out there. And what have we achieved from all of those efforts? We eradicate Ebola at great risk to our health. We eradicate white polio viruses at great risk to our health, to our lives. We do this because we feel it is our calling, it is a sacred trust between the work we do as public health practitioners and our role to ensure that we protect Nigerians. If we're doing this, laying our lives on the line for Nigerians, why would COVID-19 be different, right? This is what we do. This is our calling, right? It is like we are the civilian military.
It's easy to tell people in urban centers, you know, you can't enter the NPHCDA without a face mask. You have to sanitize before you go into the Federal Secretariat. These are things that are easy to do in urban centers, but in rural areas, where the infrastructure necessary for people to be able to adhere to these non-pharmaceutical guidelines do not exist in many of these places. How are you going to ensure that they're able to keep to these guidelines and buy into a nationwide vaccination exercise when the risk for them seems like a waste of time?
So we're working with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and all of our partners towards ensuring that at the community level, we have primary healthcare workers and community-based health workers that are engaging with these communities. Part of the reason why you see people not wanting to wear masks and not observing social distancing, like has been provided for by the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, is that low perception of risk. People do not feel like, it's, worth their while to wear face masks because they don't feel that they're going to fall sick. But the very nature of COVID-19 is such that you never know how your body is going to react to it, right? You may contract the virus and you have a very mild disease and you are lucky. But you may also contract the virus and that could be, a one-way road to death, to hospitalization and death. Why would you want to take a chance when you don't know what the outcome will be? What the vaccine does is to protect you against severe disease, hospitalization, and death, right? The vaccine does come with some side effects. That is something that is known, and this is what we tell our health workers to communicate very, very clearly, right? So as long as we continue to have outbreaks of this disease, upsurges of this disease in our communities, we will continue to use the same templates that we used with the polio eradication program, which is using the gatekeepers, our community leaders, our religious leaders, to continue to speak to people in the community so that they understand why these vaccines are necessary. It is not going to be an easy task, but we're not here just because it's easy. We're here because it is what we signed up to do, it is what we believe in, and it's something that we're going to deliver for all Nigerians. Vaccination works. Vaccination protects against severe forms of COVID-19. It is something that all Nigerians should take so that we can now build herd immunity, which is immunity of at least 70% of eligible people in Nigeria. Once we have this herd immunity, then we have a greater chance of now getting rid of the face mask, and then we can begin to talk about returning to the pre-COVID types of lifestyles and all of our social engagements that we all miss so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faisal, for being with us on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially in the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the catalyst that could make this wave so much worse is vaccine hesitancy. Vaccine hesitancy, the reluctance or refusal to vaccinate despite the availability of vaccines. This threatens to reverse the progress made in tackling vaccine-preventable diseases such as COVID-19. In many ways, we can go on with our lives without being vaccinated, but in truth, that's a focus on self. We get vaccinated to protect the people around us, especially the people we love. Vaccine hesitancy has less to do with misunderstanding the science and more to do with the general mistrust of scientific institutions and government. True, but until that trust is fixed, let's protect ourselves and those around us. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.